Have you ever walked into a room and within 3 seconds known exactly who was upset, who was faking a smile, and who didn't want to be there? Most people call that a superpower, but if you're one of the people who can do this, you already know the truth. It doesn't feel like a superpower. It feels like living with the volume turned up on everything all the time and never finding the switch to turn it back down. Picture a simple family dinner. Everyone else at the table is just eating, talking, laughing at the same old jokes. But you're doing something else entirely without even choosing to. You clock the half-second of tension when your brother mentions his job. You notice your mom's smile doesn't quite reach her eyes tonight. You feel the temperature of the room shift, and you're the only one who seems to feel it shift at all. Today we're going to talk about the psychology of people who are simply too aware. Why your mind never seems to rest, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Being highly aware isn't the same as being anxious, and it isn't the same as being smart. It's a specific way the brain processes information. Some people's nervous systems are simply wired to take in more. More tone of voice, more body language, more of the tiny shifts in a room that most people never register. Psychologists sometimes describe this as sensory processing sensitivity, a trait found in roughly 1 in 5 people. It's not a disorder, it's a dial, and for some people, that dial is turned higher than for everyone else. This trait usually shows up early. As children, these people were often called too sensitive, too intense, or too much, simply because they reacted to things that other kids seemed to walk right past. As adults, that same wiring doesn't disappear. It just gets better disguised. On the outside, it can look like being perceptive, thoughtful, or unusually good with people. On the inside, it can feel like never fully switching off. The problem isn't the awareness itself. The problem is that nobody ever taught these people how to live with it, so the very trait that makes them exceptional at understanding others is also the one quietly running them down. The first sign is that you scan every room you enter, almost without meaning to. You notice who's tense, who's tired, who's avoiding eye contact before you've said a single word. This isn't paranoia. It's a survival skill your brain built early on, often in childhood environments where emotional accuracy mattered, where knowing a parent's mood before they said anything kept you safe. The brain's threat detection center, the amygdala, becomes extremely efficient at this job. The cost is that it never fully clocks out. You're reading a room even when there's nothing to fear because your brain doesn't know the difference between important and constant. The second sign is the replay. A conversation ends, but for you, it doesn't actually end. Hours later, you're still reviewing it. What you said, what they meant, whether that pause before their reply meant something. This is your default mode network at work. The part of the brain that activates when you're not focused on a task, the part responsible for self-reflection and imagining other perspectives. In most people, it quiets down. In highly aware people, it tends to run in the background almost constantly, which is exhausting, because rest requires that network to actually go quiet, and yours rarely does. The third sign is emotional absorption. You walk into a tense meeting feeling fine, and 20 minutes later you feel drained, even though nothing happened to you directly. This connects to what researchers call cognitive empathy and the mirror neuron system, brain circuitry that fires both when you feel an emotion and when you simply watch someone else feel it. For highly aware people, that mirroring is turned up. You're not imagining someone else's stress. On some level, your brain is actually simulating it, which means their bad day can quietly become your bad day too, without you ever agreeing to that trade. The fourth sign is a heightened awareness of your own body. A slightly fast heartbeat, a tight jaw, a stomach that drops before you even know why. You catch these signals faster than most people, thanks to a brain region called the insular cortex, which tracks internal body states. This sounds useful, and in small doses it is. But when it's constant, every physical sensation can start to feel like a 5-alarm signal, even when it's nothing more than being hungry or tired. Your body is talking to you all day long. The exhausting part is that you never stop listening. The fifth sign is the strangest one, and the one most people never name out loud. You don't just have thoughts, you watch yourself having them. Was that reaction fair? Am I overreacting right now? Why did I say it that way? This is metacognition, powered largely by the prefrontal cortex, and it's genuinely a remarkable ability. It's also a second job running in parallel with your first one. Most people get to just feel something. You feel it, and then you audit the feeling in real time without ever being asked to. Here's the part almost nobody tells you. None of these 5 traits are flaws. Each one on its own is a genuine strength. Empathy, insight, emotional intelligence, self-reflection, sensitivity to others. The problem isn't any single trait, it's that they're all running simultaneously, all day with no off switch installed. Most people's brains get to rest between tasks. Yours is doing 5 jobs at once during a conversation that looks, from the outside, completely ordinary. Think back to that dinner table. While everyone else was simply enjoying a meal, your brain was scanning the room, replaying your brother's comment, absorbing your mom's mood, tracking the knot forming in your own stomach, and quietly asking whether you were reading too much into all of it. That's not one task. That's 5, running at once, and nobody around that table had any idea it was happening. That's why you can leave a perfectly nice dinner and feel like you just finished a shift at work. You didn't imagine that exhaustion. It's real, and it has a real cause. If you've been nodding along so far, you're probably someone who spent years thinking this was just how you are, without realizing there's an actual explanation behind it. Stick around, because the next part is the one that tends to help people the most. So what actually helps? Not stop caring, or stop noticing, because that dial doesn't turn off, and trying to force it usually backfires. What helps is building a buffer around the awareness you already have. First, build in recovery time after socially demanding situations, the same way an athlete rests after training. Even 15 quiet, stimulation-free minutes after a heavy conversation lets your default mode network actually settle. Second, practice naming whose emotion you're feeling. A simple mental check. Is this mine? Or did I just pick this up from someone else? Interrupts the automatic absorption and gives you a choice instead of a reflex. Third, set a boundary around your own analysis. Give yourself a limit, like 5 minutes, to think through a conversation that's bothering you, and then deliberately redirect your attention. The goal isn't to stop reflecting, it's to stop the replay from running on autopilot for hours. And fourth, remember that your sensitivity is information, not a malfunction. The people who notice the most are often the people who understand others the best. The goal was never to feel less. It's to learn how to carry what you feel without it carrying you. If any of these 5 signs sounded uncomfortably familiar, you're not broken, and you're definitely not alone. You simply have a mind that takes in more of the world than most people's do, and once you understand how it works, it stops feeling like something happening to you and starts feeling like something you know how to manage. If this helped you feel a little more understood today, consider subscribing and let me know in the comments which of these 5 signs hit closest to home. This video is for educational purposes only and isn't a substitute for professional mental health care. Take care of that mind of yours. It's working harder than you know.